Eastern Standard Time. That can only mean one thing. Live after hours with your favorite RCDD. You know that's me, Chuck Bowser, RCD Tech. Welcome everybody. Welcome to After Hours Live, where you get to ask your favorite RCD questions on installation design, project management, estimation, career path, all of those cool questions. Let's get this show rocking and rolling.
Welcome to Let's Talk Cabling, the award-winning podcast where knowledge is power and the low voltage industry connects. Hosted by Chuck Bowser, RCDD, we're here to empower installers, designers, and industry pros with the tips, stories, and best practices you need to stay ahead. From copper to fiber, standards to innovation, this is the show that keeps you plugged into success. So grab your tools, turn up the volume, and let's talk cabling. Let's Talk Cabling, your source for low voltage expertise and connection.
Wise Components just joined the TikTok feed. Hello, Wise Components. Wise Components. And also, who else is on there? I saw somebody else on there too that I recognized. Who was the other one? Who was the other one? Big T's in the house. Oh, cool. New shirts. Dig it, man. Dig it. I appreciate that. So, as you can tell, I'm back in the home studio, back in Florida. And, oh, that's cool. Why is it? I didn't know it could do that. It did a bokeh on my background. That is wicked cool. That is wicked cool. I didn't even know it could do that. That's interesting, man. So, welcome. I'm back, obviously, back in the studio, back home. Shotzi, thank you for welcoming me back. As you know, I took off 2 weeks because I had some issues. I had to go to Maryland to help take care of my mom. So I did not do live streams while I was there because I was busy feeding her and taking vitals and all that other stuff. I was just serving as an intern until they could get a health home aide to come help with the with our care. So she's got a health home aide now, and I'm back in the groove. Wednesday nights, what I did was I collected a bunch of questions over this 2 week period. So we got lots and lots of questions coming on, and so the cool thing is um, even though even though I did not do live streams, there was still stuff happening on the podcast. So, for example, last week I did a show with Polywater because it came out with a cable jacket relief, a cable jacket repair kit, where if you damage your outside plant cable, you can put this on it, and it's just as good as new and protected from the elements and all that other stuff. I got a sample of it right here. You know, I'm going to be making a TikTok video with it. So if you have a product that you want me to make a TikTok video or a video on it to get it out there, send it to me. I'm not going to guarantee you I'll give you a good or bad review, but I will certainly review it. So be watching out for that one to come up. I got another episode coming up with BS with Todd. You might remember him, BS with Todd and Mahood. We talk about fault managed power systems. Somebody knows who is going to Bixie Beyond. I will be at Bixie Beyond. I will be there. So we're going to talk about fault managed power systems. What is it? What are the current challenges and hurdles? Where's fault managed power systems going to go? And then the other show that's the two other shows that are in the hopper, as we like to say. I've got a show where I'm going to tell you how to come up with your hourly rate if you've got your own low voltage business, how to price running a cable, and then also how do you know if you're making money? So we're going to do that as well. And then also the other show that I'm working on too is going to be with Maxell. Maxell. So we got a show with them coming on. And I appreciate if the audio is off just a tiny bit. I could not find the cord for my good microphone. So right now it's only coming across the microphone on my Zoom camera. So I apologize for that. It just kind of happens sometimes. Anthony's in the house. What's happening, Low Volt Warby? So I have been saving up questions from people over those last 2 weeks to do this live stream. And who was it? Who was it? Let me think. The cable guy. he's been doing a couple live streams lately. So if you ever see him pop up and doing a live stream, please go watch it. Okay. He did a live stream while I was in Maryland. I hopped on a couple times with him, and of him dressing out cable, answering questions, stuff like that. Great resource. D's in the house. Waddles is in the house. So great resource. So today's acronym challenge. This is going to be a hard one. And if you get it, dude, you got my respect. Okay? Because I probably wouldn't be able to tell you this acronym. You see, we're coming to the close on our latest RCDD study group. We have I think 2 weeks left, maybe 3 weeks left, maybe. And so this week we're in chapter 19, which is how to do cabling for healthcare facilities. And I noticed that there's a bunch of acronyms in there that I'd seen before, but I didn't really know what they were. So here's today's acronym. Today's acronym is, remember, it has to do with healthcare facilities. The acronym is TEC. Put your answer in the chat box. TEC. What does that acronym mean? Wise Component says he has another one for us. SDVOB. I have no idea what that acronym is. You got me stumped, Wise Components. So TEC, what does that acronym mean? I'll give you a few seconds to put that in the chat box. I did a poll on LinkedIn. Was it this week? Maybe last week. I don't remember. I did a poll. Go look it up. I'm thinking about doing individual one chapter specific study groups. Right. So what I'll do is I'll put out a link. Say, okay, this week we're studying chapter 19, healthcare facilities. People can sign up for it. We'll do it via Zoom call, and then we'll go right through the whole entire chapter. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'm also going to do that for the Bixie Technician certification exams as well. So TEC. Let me check see, did anybody get what TEC means? I know I have a few fellow RCDDs in the room, but it doesn't look like anybody's gotten it. So TEC, what does TEC stand for? It stands for healthcare facilities. Come on now. Nobody wants to even try? Nobody? Huh. My feelings are hurt. Telecommunications Equipment Center. Yes. It's kind of like the entrance facility in a hospital. Okay. It's like the entrance facility. Now let me flip back over to my notes because I had written down some things I wanted to tell you about it because there's some very, very specific things, and I lost my my notes. That's not fun. That's not fun when you lose your notes, right? Here, we should do this. We'll just open up here. All right, so it's on docs.google. There we go. It should be the last one I had. So we'll open it up. There it is. The TEC. So again, it's like the entrance facility for a hospital. You need to have at least one, and some AHJs may require you to have more than one, right? More than one. And again, that's where you're going to find like the outside facility, the outside plant cabling, the service provider cable, the customer owned outside plant coming into the room, your lightning protection, your cable, your main switch gear, your main phone systems, your main servers for the network. Okay. And so it's got to be environmentally controlled. And like I said, they got to have at least one, and some of them may require more. Now, some other things you need to know about it is it's got to be adequate size for future service. It always give it room to grow. And it's got to be located in a non-sterile area. That way people can go in and work on it without having to go through sterilizations in the process. Shutsky's in the house. Hello, Shutsky. It's got to be getting late for you over there in Poland, my friend. Yes. So that's the telecom equipment room. So let's get in with the questions. Okay. Now this question came to me. I wrote the guy's name down, right? I wrote the guy's name down, but I didn't write down what platform he came from. This question was from Dwight758. And he says to me, "Good morning, sir." I love when people say, "Good morning, sir." Good morning, sir. Right? As a second-year apprentice studying for my technician certification and goals of getting my RCDD and getting my RTPM, are there any degrees, certifications, or trainings I should be looking into to help me give me a leg up? Love your videos. Thank you. So first off, kudos to you, brother. Kudos to you because you're already thinking about it as a career, right? There's so many people in our industry that treat low voltage as a job and they get off at 5 o'clock and, they just go home and I don't know, they do whatever people do who don't have careers. And then they wonder why they can't just get that pay raise or get that next position because you're treating it as a job. Treat it as a career. Invest in it. All right. So here's some tips for you, Dwight. Okay. So first off, consider going for the Bixby Installer 2, the copper and the solder. That's going to build some good solid field foundation knowledge for you, which is going to be, it's going to be a good solid foundation for eventually your RCDD, right? And got to be safe. Look into your OSHA 30 class because we all know that safety is number one. If you're not safe, it doesn't matter how much you want to learn. If you're paralyzed or you're dead, it ain't gonna do any good. And here's a piece of advice that I don't give out too often. Maybe consider looking at some network certification. Now, there are some people out there far better who can wax poetic about the certifications for servers and switches and stuff like that. Like look up Ed the Old Tech Guy or the Beard of Knowledge or Packet Tracer, right? They can all talk about it. But get your CCNA or your Network Plus because it's one thing to do cabling, but it's another thing to know because it's going to give you a solid foundation of how network fundamentals work. Maybe also consider looking at the FOA, the Fiber Optic Association. They got lots of free training out there. I say it all the time. Go to fiberu.org. Lots of free fiber optic training. Right now, a lot of those are going to cost money. Maybe start studying the TDMM now, the Telecommunications Distribution Methods Manual now. Don't wait until you put in your application because a lot of the stuff that's in the TDMM is also in the ITSM manual, the Information Transport Systems Installations Methods Manual. And that's going to help you with your installer certification, your technician certification. It's going to help set that solid foundation. Also, keep an eye out for free webinars. Wise Components. You guys are on a roll this year with all your events that you've been doing. And it's a shame you're so far away from me. Matter of fact, when I was in Maryland over the last 2 weeks, I saw you guys did one. I seriously considered driving up there, but I was there to take care of mom, so I didn't. So there you go. So events, webinars, watch out for Bixby local events, stuff like that. Go to, if you have the ability to go to conferences like NECA or Bixby Beyond or one of those other ones. Okay. So and then you don't want to become a one-trick pony. Don't just do structured cabling. Maybe consider doing cross-training, looking at how to do security or AV or PoE, power over Ethernet, because, convergence is where this industry is heading. I remember 20 years ago, the theme for one of the Bixby conferences was convergence, because how we're converging voice and data together. Well, now we're converging AV and security and PoE. This industry is always converging stuff. They're always finding ways to put new stuff on the network. And that network needs cabling. Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 6a. Right. Also, stay active on LinkedIn and follow the industry pros. You can look me up. You can friend request me on LinkedIn. I do answer questions on LinkedIn. Just keep in mind that I might be working or traveling or teaching, so it might take me a day or so to respond back to them, but I do answer them. But I'm not the only one out there. There's a lot of great resources out there on LinkedIn. Look them up, okay? All righty, so the next question, this comes from Kieran, and so this was actually a comment. So Oliver Warby says, as someone who loves cabling, I love putting together access control systems as well. Yeah, exactly. It's something different, and it's I never got into access control, but I've always admired it from a distance. So anyway, this question comes from Kieran, and the question says, give me some backstory here. So I did a TikTok video on network cabling can go up to 100 meters or 328 feet. And then there were some comments on there. And then this guy posted something that I want to make sure that I give some clarification to it. And again, this is Kieran, and he was talking to Davis Walton 1, and I'm pretty sure this was TikTok. It says, it does not, but almost no one, unless you're running a LAN data center, needs 400 gigabit per second cabling. I agree with that. The major concern for Ethernet is collision at greater than 100 meters. Other than that, length isn't a factor. Oh, how wrong you are, Kieran. How wrong you are. Again, I do agree. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking. I do agree that almost, because we were talking about home networking. 40 gig, you might, unless you have a 40 gig server in your house, you're not getting 40 gig. And you're certainly not getting 40 gig to the internet because they're not running 40 gig, right? And by the way, if you're on TikTok, make sure you hit the like button. Let's get me some likes in here, man. I'm trying to get my numbers up. So tap that heart button. Give me some numbers, right? So yeah, you're right. And so in houses, in home stuff, they don't need 40 gig networks. They truly, truly don't. But future-proofing. Now, a lot of people tell you, well, Chuck 5E is all you need for residential cabling. In today's environment, that's true. 5E is all you need. But the minimum you should really be putting in for residential is Cat 6. The minimum you should be putting in for residential cabling is Cat 6. And if you're doing Cat 6, why not do Cat 6A? The only difference is the cost of the cable and the cost of the connectors. And that way you're future-proofed for well beyond before you'll move out of that house before you find the end of the bandwidth. Okay. Now, to specifically talk to their comment, Ethernet collision is a major concern beyond 100 meters. That's an outdated comment, right? Ethernet switches used to today's Ethernet switches, right? They eliminate collisions by doing full duplex switching. So that 100 meter limit is due to signal attenuation and the performance limits that are defined in the 568 standards. Okay, not the CSMA CD collision stuff. This is the ANSI 568 standards. So again, signal loss, attenuation, and then also crosstalk. All right, Shutsky, thank you for stopping by, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. So that's why, again, if you follow the 100 meter rule that's set up by Bixby and by ANSI, it's in also in the Bixby documents as well. That's the absolute max you can go for using it. Now, you said that it's not a distance. Yes, it is, because technically you can do 10 gig over Cat 6 cable, but you can't go past like 50 meters or 60 meters with it, because Cat 6 can only do 1 gig out to that full 295. So the ANSI standards are written so if you follow it for Cat 6, you can do 1 gig all the way out to 295 feet or 100 meters if you're talking about the channel. Right? So that's why length does matter. That an Ethernet cable is engineered to run the maximum performance within the specs, and exceeding the length is going to force lower speeds. So you might have a 10 gig network, but if you're going to be on 100 meters, it's going to downgrade it, man. It's going to run slower speeds. So there you go. Next question, and this comes from it was a comment on one of the videos that we did on how to having your own low voltage business, low voltage business. And I was talking to Pierce and Ryan and Better Days, Jeff Days from Better Days Technologies, and we were talking about the customers trying to get a lower price by dangling that carrot in front of you. Justin's got his own low voltage business. Justino, go back and watch those 2 episodes that I just did. Okay, they're how to do a low voltage business, and I got another one coming up on how to come up with your hourly rate, how to price a cable, and how do you know if you're making money. That one's coming up probably about 3 or 4 weeks. I still got to record it, right? So this question came from MDA Bear Hussein -D1I. There you go. Not all money is good money. Yeah. So again, like I said, we were talking about how customers like to dangle that carrot in front of you to try to get your price a little bit cheaper on a job that you're currently working, right? So he says, how do you find a balance between trusting your gut and giving a new client a fair chance? And that's a great question. Number one, trust your gut. Trust your gut. There's certain people when I meet them, I just automatically click with them. There's other people, I can't put my finger on them. There's something off with that person. Trust your gut, right? If something doesn't feel right, start asking questions. Clients who dodge clarity are the ones who are going to create chaos later, and they're probably not going to, probably don't have that project. They're probably just saying that. If they're saying, well, look, if you lower the price on this job, then how about I'll give you opportunity to do this other job, and we're going to do it later on in the year. Okay, ask them for the written scope. Ask them, when are they going to make the decision on that project, and confirm those phases before offering any kind of discounts. I'm not a big fan of giving discounts, period. Let's get that straight right now. If the customer wants you to sharpen a pencil, I'm going to come back and say, okay, you want the price to be cheaper. What can we change about this design? Instead of maybe using Cat 6A cable, can we use Cat 6? Right? What can I do to make this price cheaper? Because the price is the price. The price is the price. It's coming up, Cole. It's coming up, my friend. Cole shot me a message today about CET networking. I got a good response for you, my friend. Good response. So yeah, don't give discounts on future promises or more volume. Again, they're dangling that carrot. That's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Just tell them, look, this is our standard pricing right now. And if you start getting history with me, you start, I would certainly give somebody a price break if they were my customer for 10 years, right? I would certainly do that, but I would not do it, on the, oh, well, if you give me a break on this one, I'll give it to you on the next project. No. As my dad always say, there's two people I trust in this world, and you're neither one of them. It's a fact. It's a fact. And do you know how to tell? This is the easiest way to tell how a customer is lying. Okay, the easiest way on how to tell a customer's lying. Their lip is moving. That's how you can tell. Because don't get me wrong, there are great customers out there, but there's also a lot of bad ones. So if you don't, here's the problem: if you don't set those clear boundaries and those minimums right out of the gate, what makes you think that if they do, if the carrot was actually a real job and you win that job, what makes you think they're not going to ask you to drop the price on that job? Right? So again, the price is the price. But make sure whatever project you give them, you have good solid terms and conditions. I should do a show on that. How to come up with terms and conditions to protect yourself. Ooh, I'm gonna write that down. Where's my pen? Somebody shoot me a text, DM me a message. Chuck, do the show on terms and conditions, because I will forget it. Right. So yeah, there you go. So again, you really want to build that relationship with them. You really do. And I'm sorry, dangling the carrot, that's not it. Next question comes from the same guy, MDABIR Hussein -D1-I. And he says, how do you think about how do you think we can keep building adaptability in the ICT when the tech evolves faster than the other? Now, this question came from, I had UCL Swift on. You might know UCL Swift. I had their general manager on, and we were talking about adaptability because they bought a new company, and we talked about that process and thinking outside the box and stuff like that. So that's where this question came from. So how can you build adaptability in a rapidly evolving ICT environment? So now this is not going to be for your companies. This is going to be for the individual. Okay. Number one, build that mindset, not a skill set. Okay. We're good at getting technical training on learning how to, install, terminate, test fiber optic cabling and copper cabling. But again, you got to evolve that mindset, right? You got to ask yourself, okay, what if, or why should I change? You should ask yourself, even when everything's going right, if you don't ask yourself what if or why change, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're always going to get what you got. You're not going to grow. You're not going to expand your skill sets. You're not going to expand your mindset if you don't constantly challenge the way that you think, right? And don't fall trapped in, well, that's the way it's always been done. That's the way it's always been done. No, that's not a good reason. So what you want to do is you want to create a learning rhythm. So get in that routine, Because I'll tell you this, and when I got out of high school, I went to work for a low voltage company, and I worked there for 20 something years before I went back to college to get my degree. That first year was hard for me because I had to get back into learning mode because I'd been out of school for 20 years. So keep yourself in that routine. Here's my challenge to you, to everybody on TikTok and everybody on my feeds. Here's my challenge to you. Watch one webinar a month. One webinar a month. Cable Installation Maintenance Magazine has lots of great ones for us. But if you go to Bright Talk, there's other ones there. LinkedIn has webinars as well. Look, there's lots of great web sources. Watch at least one a month to keep your brain in that learning mode. Okay. Also, again, we talk about credentials. I talk about credentials quite a bit. The RCDD, the Bixie Tech, all that stuff. Don't forget those micro credentials. And Bixie's starting to do this now with their outside plant stuff, and I'll have more on that later once I get them to come on the show to talk about it, right? But for example, like getting a fiber optic certification, getting a certification on wireless, a certification on putting in access control. Get those micro certifications. Find out ways that you can make yourself learn faster. Everybody's different learning technique. That's why the question I dread the most from people on TikTok and all the other places I go to is, Chuck, how do I get my RCDD? Give me some tips. Everybody learns differently. Now I can wax poetic on some ways that you should consider doing it, right? But it may not resonate with you. The way that I learn may not be the way that you learn, right? And if you don't engage in yourself, again, like I said, at least once a month in learning, you're not going to know what your learning style is, right? Not going to learn what your learning style is. Be willing to experiment as well. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I'll say that again for the people in the back. We all make mistakes. Don't be afraid of them. Learn from them. For example, certifiers. It seems like there's always a new one coming out. There's always new processes for acronyms. Oh my gosh, acronyms. That's why I do the acronym challenge. When people say the MDF, the IDF, those are old acronyms. We don't use them anymore. It's now the telecom room, the telecom enclosure, right? TR, TE, stuff like that. So, but I won't correct you because if that's how you communicate, that's how you communicate. Okay. This question comes from Cole, who's in the TikTok feed. And Cole just posted this tonight. He says, do you recommend CET networking? CET networking. So Cole, if you're still in the channel, tell me, which certification are you trying to get? Because I forgot to ask you that in the feed on TikTok. So if you're still in the channel, Cole, which certification are you getting? The RCDD. Very good. Good one to get. So first, let me start off first with, for those who may not know, RCD, Registered Communications Distribution Designer. That is considered the premier credential in the ICT industry. If you get that credential, you can make more money, you're going to get more opportunities, right? And all that stuff. So a lot of people are always hungry on what's the best way to get that. So CET networking is one avenue of doing it. There's many other avenues, but tonight I'm going to focus on CET. So CET is an organization that's based in, must be 630, in Tennessee, and they've been an active Bixie recognized training provider since 1981. So they've been around for a while. And now remember, Bixie recognized training provider doesn't mean that Bixie endorses you. It just means you submitted your material. They've looked at it. Their subject matter experts have looked at it, and they said, yes, there's nothing here that's out in left field. They just recognize it. They don't endorse it. Right? So CET Networking offers classes for the RCDD, the Registered Communication Distribution Designer, DCDC, Data Center Designing Consultant, OSP, and other ones as well too. They have virtual and in-person options. They have study workbooks, flashcards. They have post-class support. It's a good support. Matter of fact, I'm not sure. I have to go. I didn't research this, but I use a company called NetCBT when I got my certification, my credential, NetCBT, and I think that CET bought them out, but I'm not 100% positive on it. So let's talk about their courses and their structure, right? So their study materials. They got 3,500 practice questions, and those practice questions are aligned with the TDMM. They have pre-class worksheets to help identify what areas you might be weak at. And now the class format, they got 2 to 3 day interactive classes with review sessions. They got coaching, and even if you don't trying to get your RCD, they have 33 continuing education credits. So it's a good way to get your CECs, because once you get your credential, you have to keep it maintained, right? So what's their pricing? Their RCD course is about $900. I think $1,000. Cole, I think it was $976 when I looked at it last. Let me know if it's still about that price range. So it's going to be expensive, but then again, knowledge is. Now here's the thing, because Cole specifically asked me, what did I think about? Did I recommend CET networking? So I never used CET networking, so I can't really say. You're about to drop $1,700. Wow, that's through CET. Okay, so you're doing 2 classes. That's why. There you go. So I never used their classes, but I do know some people who have gone through their classes, and I also did some research too on this as well. So there was somebody on Reddit that said that they previously took their CET networking in-person class for the RCD prep, and they found it to be extremely helpful, and they passed as the RCD after that. So there's lots of great feedback there. I haven't seen any negative feedback. So would I say it's a good resource? Probably a good resource, but I can't specifically say I took that class, and I can't say that I would recommend them because I've never taken their class. I've taken Bixby classes, I've taken NetCBT classes, taken other classes, but based on what I've seen, I think you'll get your money's worth. I really do think you get your money's worth. So who should really consider using CET? It's perfect for apprentices, good for technicians, and especially people like Cole going through their RCDD, right? And by the way, Cole, I do an RCD study group. Just saying. So there you go. How would the Bixby Applied Building class do after I get my RCD for actually doing the work? It's a great class. The people who they have teach that are very, very knowledgeable and very experienced. I would definitely recommend that. Because it's going to help you bring the rubber to the road after you get that. So, all righty, it is 6:33. I got the hiccups now. 6:33. Oh, I forgot to ask everybody, hey, what are you drinking? You can always talk about that, right? So tonight I'm just drinking just water tonight. There we go. I forgot to do that. I always do that every show. What are you drinking? And I forgot to do it. There you go. All right, everybody. So remember, Wednesday night, 6 p.m. live with your favorite RCD. If you have any other questions, send them to me over the next week. I'll compile them and I'll have them for next week's show. Make sure you check out next Monday's podcast. All right, lots of cool stuff coming out. Wire for Excellence in the house. Right? Will lose their subscription benefits soon. Okay, I totally missed that. What are you talking about there, Mr. Wired for Excellence? Oh, by the way, I did get your message. But I do got to go because I got to prep for the RC study group tonight. So it's starting up in 20 minutes. So until next time, everybody, remember, knowledge is power.